I'm Natasha Chandran.
And I'm Ana Abramovska.
And this is No One, a podcast that explores the distorted narratives of our postmodern society.
In today's episode, Natasha and I look at the concept of ships. Romantic relationship, friendship, kinship, partnership. The ships by which we organize our lives. What happens when the order in which society organizes the importance of certain relationships clashes with your personal hierarchy, or maybe the lack of one? What is lost by structuring society and values based on a ship hierarchy? Has it always been this way?
This episode is recorded in Gadigal land. So before we begin, we would like to pay respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who have looked after these lands and water for tens of thousands of years. We acknowledge that this land was stolen from them and that sovereignty has never been ceded. Hi, Ana.
Hi, Natasha.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Okay, so this episode is pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting to research, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think we started with, we looked at the historical, we kind of took a historical approach to it. And
because there's no other way to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
we had to look at it from a historical point of view.
It's so interesting. We're going to talk about relationships, but there's no other way to look at it but doing a historical approach. That's not what I think anyone would have in mind when they probably go like,
about relationships.
I'm going to talk about my personal experience, but no. We decided to look at the history of relationships. So, Natasha, what was the most interesting thing that that surprised you, perhaps?
I don't know if I was surprised as much as it just kind of, I think for me it kind of confirmed a lot of things, a lot of ideas that I probably already had established, not just, not out of thin air, but ideas that we, generally talked about. And it just further confirmed that, this is a cultural construct starting from the beginning of time right to what it is today. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but it was not something that, were we really surprised? Like, were we like, ooh, this is shocking?
Well, not really. I think the social love being a social construct. I think we've also talked it to death.
Yeah.
Between ourselves,
amongst all the other things. Yeah,
exactly. And it's pretty clear. But I think what I found interesting was that actually the kind of like the invention of just what love is today and how it was actually kind of a concept that removed all nuance from the past. So it was a concept that was invented kind of by the French.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was also quite okay. So what was interesting about it was also this idea that when we talk about relationships and love, we also talk about friendships, right? And how friendships, particularly friendships, male friendships was seen as the be-all, end-all, and the definition of what a friendship is historically from the beginning of time. And women weren't, like we talked about, capable of those types of relationships.
Yeah, because the women were seen as incapable of friendships. So you were seen as someone that just can't do it. We were like,
we have no loyalty. Well, that's what that's what the research is. That's what it said.
Because that's why there's no proper record of female friendships, because we just consider women don't know how to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Friendship is just not. It's always like men can be friends, and that exists as a thing, but women are just they can't do it.
Now, what do? They just stitch and crochet, and
it's just kind of ridiculous. Like from from today's point of view, that sounds insane. What did you think about that idea that I think when we were like talking about love and how love was actually before that. We had so many words for love, and we had so many ideas of love in some places still today. But what the French did, they didn't invent love. I mean, of course, it's ridiculous, but
Like they invented romantic love.
Yeah, they kind of like
as opposed
kind
to
of
how it was. Yeah,
they got confused a little bit, and they decided that love now is equated with passion and desire.
And sex and and how it was before, it was it was more about alliances and allegiances, countries marrying, I mean not countries marrying each other, but kingdoms and kings and queens, and it was all about securing property and land rights, and as opposed to emotional love, like feelings. It wasn't, I think feelings were for the mistresses and not the wife and the husband.
Yeah, because the definition of love, the first time when they like the courtly love, when love started to be a thing that you can actually, there's this thing that you start to feel for someone, and this is like a desire that's just called as love. The first rule in that kind of courtly handbook was that love is always exists outside of marriage and never in marriage. And to think that love can exist in marriage was like kind of laughable.
Yeah, it was peculiar.
It was peculiar. It was like a laughable thing.
Yeah.
So you didn't really, there was no such thing as
those two coexisting together.
Yeah, coexisting. It was just an insane
yeah, you wouldn't even think of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Back then, but now that's completely thrown out of the door.
Yeah,
because
now
love is marriage, and marriage is love.
Yeah, exactly.
For most people, that is.
Yeah, and then even don't you think that further complicates things, because now love is marriage, but also at the same time we have lost all the nuances of what love means, because before you had like eros, right? Which was the desire bit. Then you had philia, and then you had agape, which was this the most purest kind of like almost you can say intellectual. It didn't need to be, like it was the purest form of love. And now that all fell to desire. It all kind of got lost in the way.
So Ana, why do you think love is, I suppose, is constantly equated or embedded in this idea of desire and marriage?
That's a very interesting question, because it's still very, like, across cultures, I think it's still very different. But I think with the before, as I said, the Greeks kind of had this idea of philia, which is like you reciprocate love, so it can be friendship. You had eros, which was pure like flesh desire, and then you had agape, which was selfless love. So this kind of was all of this was just available to men.
Yeah, I think it's important that you say that. Yeah.
Exactly, it was not really available to everyone. So I think after in the French courts, when this became like, when first of all it was invented in French courts, so it wasn't available to normal people.
Yeah, the plebs.
And yeah, exactly, and it was just like, so you can say like they were bored. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they decided, oh my God, I'm joking, but they decided to kind of like, they even had like games that they played to try to define this, like try to define love.
Yeah, because they had nothing else to do.
Exactly. So like, okay, they even had like this rule book. So one of the rules that I remember is like, you cannot be in love and be married. Because if you get married, the desire, just like the passion and thing dies.
And it ends.
Yeah. So we had this like ideas that, like that's when the whole, like the troubadours and the whole thing started, when you kind of like fall in love.
For love's sake.
For love's sake, yes.
Without the desire and the sexual element to it.
Without the sexual element, but the desire is still there. So instead of like looking to God as like this ideal, or like, now the lady becomes your object of passion and love, and but you never really do anything about it.
Do anything physical, that is.
Physical.
Yeah.
Which then I think that changed later in with the French court, when the king was getting like mistresses, and that was like, then love got equated with desire, actually, with like sexual desire. So you had like your wife to get married and have kids with,
which was all practical reasons.
Yeah, like you said. And then you had your
your mistresses on the side, or your
but that's only you had mistresses on the side, no, not lovers. If you're a woman, like it was available still, well, for the most part, for men.
And it's also like, it talks to this idea of the chase, right? It's about the chase, and once the chase ends, it kind of goes, it's like, now what?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why all the stories of that time end in tragedy, like Tristan and Isolde,
Romeo and Juliet,
because if you cannot be alive, get really together and stay in love, because then that means love means, if it's consummated or whatever, means death.
Yeah, that's so
on
interesting.
all levels.
Yeah.
So once you get married, or you get to know the person, that passion just dies. So that kind of idea was like what was present at that time, and then the romantics came, I think, after that.
Yeah, and it was this couple in the UK that kind of made that first change that kind of echoed throughout centuries, and now present time, when they decided to get married for love, and also all that, and the desire and the sex and the element of attraction that is also embedded in that, and they completely redefined what marriage and love and desire is.
Yeah, I think that was the first couple, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
to get married for love. There was a couple in the UK. I don't remember which year it was, but it was the 18th or the 19th century.
I can't remember. But
it was something like that.
Yeah. It was somewhere during that time.
Yeah, 1870s, let's say.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you think that what have we gained from, let's say, this kind of idea of joining marriage and love? And what have we lost? Do you think there's anything lost or gained?
Well, I mean, when we talked about this episode, and as usual, we talk things to death. We talked about how, in terms of, I don't know if gaining would be the way I would see it, because in current society, we would, if we were to bring this to present day 2020, it is about losses, It is also because we organize our relationships based on hierarchies, and we place importance to our, romantic relationships and romantic partnerships, as opposed to our, our friendships outside of that, and I think, for legal purposes, we do that for, convenience and just logistical reasons. So, which culturally now redefines what friendships are. And I think that is a loss, because now I think it was a female poet that said, when marriage happens, it's the death of friendships, because it kind of rings true.
Yeah, that's so true.
And what do you think about it? What do you think is gained or lost from seeing love this way, or
seeing this marriage with love?
Yeah,
I think I totally agree with you. I think I see it as well in terms of loss, which is, I think this is gonna sound, it's a kind of counterintuitive. And it's interesting that we both see it as like, being married for love, it's like a loss. I think that's
yeah.
But I feel like it's not about that's bad. I think it's, for me, I don't know, and we talked about this before, it was more that actually the problem is that we are equating marriage with love, with love. But then the problem is not in marriage with love. It's the problem is about how we define love. And love is now we have lost all the other nuances of love. Like we have lost maybe we're not lost. I know it's not true for everyone, but for everyone as well. But most people consider like it's about that attraction. Love is considered. You think straight away about desire, attraction, and publicly you can't even speak about other things. It's seen as a bad. Like you can't say, "Oh, I actually, I'm attracted, somewhat, but actually we are on the same, I don't know, we think the same, we like to talk about the same things, and that's all secondary. The attraction is the first thing, and I think that's where I think a lot of problems comes when you actually marry someone
purely for
desire, purely for I was attracted to this person, or you go into a relationship purely based on attraction. I don't think, and especially for women, right? Because you need to think about a lot of other things as well.
I mean, practical stuff. And it's funny, like we don't really, like back in the day, women were criticized for, back in the day. No, they weren't criticized, but it was the social norm that women were married off to create alliances and, build political relationships with countries and kingdoms. So they were seen as transactionary, right? And today, there's this trope that, if you marry for, wealth or for something that is going to gain you some level of social standing, that it's frowned upon. It's not a good thing because you must marry for love, whatever that means.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what does that even mean? What does marrying for love?
But when in fact we actually do look at the practicalities, like when we do marry, for example,
or even in a relationship,
or even when you're partnered in a relationship, you are actually looking at the kind of basic stuff, like does this person clean? Does this person cook? Can I live with this person? Is this going to be, can I vomit in front of this person? Is that okay? Which is...
Yeah, are my quirks accepted by this person?
Yeah.
Can I be who I am?
Yeah.
I know, which I think...
And not just be desirable.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time.
Yeah, that's... I totally agree. I mean, you do consider the practicalities. And it's also the most important thing is like, does this person genuinely care about me? But I think... I think this is a problem, right? We have hierarchies. So we have put so much pressure on this one relationship because the hierarchy or our society dictates that this romantic relationship is the relationship. And this one person is the
your
one.
Everything.
Yeah. Do you think that just makes it, like, that's what makes it so difficult and prone to failure?
Yeah, and the higher divorce rates. Yeah, absolutely. It seems quite unnatural to expect so much out of one person, for them to be, the person that you have amazing sex with, and then for them to be the person that cleans up your vomit, and then the person who does, who's your active listening all the time, who's super invested and interested in every single thing you say, and that person to also give limited or unbounding love and affection all the time. Which is, and also to be your therapist, your cook, your chef, everything, your nurse. It's not, if you really think about it, it's quite terrifying to have one person. Imagine that, someone expecting that of you, of me. It's a lot of pressure. And I'm bound to fail.
Yeah, we are definitely, I think it's very unfair.
Yeah.
As well, to kind of put that on one person. And also at the same time expect that this person doesn't really elapse or change.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's
and it's interesting that you say that not allowing that lapse or change. Like, do you think that also sort of contributes to the possibility of why, you know, some relationships fail, and because you expect a certain, you romanticize a certain idea of this person, of, you know, for example, when you met them and when everything was so rosy and, you know, and the honeymoon period, you know, as they call it. And then you have this memory of that, and you kind of romanticize that, and it becomes distilled in your memory, and you expect that throughout your entire relationship, and you may be 10 years down in your relationship and a lot of things would have happened, but there's that sort of subliminal expectation that that moment, that romanticization is still there. Like, do you think that that's kind of also the problem?
Yeah, I think for sure, because you're working, I think, you know, keep that phrase, keep the spark alive. But what if the spark becomes, I don't know,
A flame.
or even like, you know, not even a flame, maybe it becomes water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Completely changes.
Completely changes. What about keeping that alive? What if water is what you need to grow? I mean, to qualify this, I think like if you're, how I see like even the whole keeping the spark alive and stuff, you should be able to let the other person grow completely and selflessly.
Yes, and also not just say that performatively, right? Like, I think today we say that all the time, and we hear it almost like a catchphrase. Oh, I'm going to let you grow and be a better person and, you know, become this amazing individual, and your sense of individuality is, you know, is there. But it's also, we have to be careful of not being performative of that and actually embodying that and understanding what that means, because it actually can mean discomfort for you if you're not ready to move in that line of change. And it's also maybe a moment for you to kind of sit with that discomfort if you have to.
Yeah, because it might mean that you might need to go your separate ways.
Yeah.
Because for that person to grow, you need to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And how comfortable are you with
letting go? Yeah.
Letting go and just moving, stepping away.
And not possessing. Because love is, you know, and I think we can both agree here, love is not about possessing another person or anyone for that matter, be it even in a friendship. You're not, if it becomes possessive and, you know, your love is possessive, then that in itself, it will undo the relationship almost naturally. It will have a natural death.
It's very interesting because we kind of like structure everything in that one relationship, right? Like that's the most the romantic relationship, let's say, like we deem it as your most important. You live together with your partner, with your romantic partner. You do things together. You make life decisions that concern you together. And this is like, I don't have experience with kids, and I don't want to talk about like having kids. That's later, you know, like I don't know what that entails, but like you always make that as a unit. And that kind
of to the exclusion of everyone else.
Exactly. I mean, that's the definition even like of like when you get married.
Yes, that's right.
You get married to the exclusion, or just to make sure it's to the exclusion of everyone else. What about polyamorous relationships? Like that doesn't include polyamory. It doesn't include a lot of like different styles of relationships, or even if I want, let's say, if we would want to move away as a group and live like as friends somewhere,
that would be laughable.
Well, it would be laughable, but even visa issues. Like I cannot tell the government, this is my friend and I need you to give her a visa to live here.
Yeah, look at me, I'm laughing.
You know, it's like, what? No, like that's just not how.
Yeah, it's true. That's so true.
So we have isolated ourselves in this, and we expect everything from one person, right? Then do you think that further creates isolation because you're now seen as a unit, you know?
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that because, you know, I think, and it's, you know, it also depends, you know, I mean, who you are and you know, where you come from and what place you are in your life. And for me, it was very isolating when I came to Australia and I got married. my friendships or, the people that I spoke to were limited to my husband at the time and his extended family and also his friends at work, because I didn't have the opportunity. I wasn't working at the time. And that is very isolating because you live in this sort of echo chamber and this little bubble where his friends are not my friends, and I know that subliminally. But I don't really have a choice because I'm in a new place, I'm in a new country. I'm not really able to go and make friends organically. I mean, I'm not going to go out to someone at Aldi and say, can you be my friend? That would be a bit too weird. But yeah,
that person would definitely not be your friend.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's very isolating and it can be very dangerous as well if you're in a very toxic relationship.
Yeah, because you have no support structure. And as a migrant, I think it's like crucial that you do not prioritize your romantic relationship over your friendship. It is. I mean, first of all, I don't know, my opinion. So feel free.
Caveat,
feel free to disagree. But in my opinion, I think that if you decide to focus on your romantic relationship as a single relationship and as the most important, and you put all your effort in that, first you're going to put too much pressure on that person that you're with, and obviously that person's going to suffer because, I mean, like, you're not going to be a nice person to live with. And it's too much because you're putting all your that's your one and all. But then also you don't really consider, you don't have a support structure, so you're losing your support structure. So you don't have, I mean, before, like, I don't know, when I was in different relationships and stuff, I would always think, who can I call now that I can tell them, look, I'm moving in with you for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And they would be like not even a question. Because at home you have those relationships, but now you're in a new country. Like, who can I be this much of an inconvenience but not care about it?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, and that is actually so, crucial to cultivate, and to not just, for obvious reasons, but also for, just your general well-being. Isn't it nice to have friendships outside of your relationship with your partner? Isn't it nice to have that level of affection and love from someone else as well, without it having to be compared to the other? That is constant comparison that I need to choose this over the other. It doesn't have to be a choice. It doesn't have to be this is more important than the other.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm going to ask you, how do you organize now what's your hierarchy? How does that work if your romantic relationship is not the best and beyond and all, and I don't know.
Well, see, that's the thing, I've learned through my lived experiences in my past of, being divorced and, getting married and then getting divorced and going through that entire process and feeling, the isolation and just, not also having the financial independence of being in that particular relationship and not having a social safety net. I've learned that for me, I cannot, if I were to be with a partner, organize, my relationship with this person in such a way that is the priority, that is prioritized against all my other relationships and friendships. Because, the truth is, when I was in my most desperate moments, it was not my romantic relationships that came to save me. It was not my romantic partners that were there to pick up the slack and, basically do the dirty work. It was actually my friends and, my sister and my family, and mostly, friends, that I probably should have made more of an effort to, connect with, at the time. But I'd completely, disregarded it because I was so embedded in this idea that it needed to be. I'm also guilty of it, because I did think at a certain point that this is how it needed to be.
No, for sure. I think we're all guilty.
We're all guilty of it. And we learned, I learned, at that point in time through this experience that this is not working. There's a reason why it's not working, because to me, it didn't feel natural.
Mm.
And, I think you kind of feel the same way, right?
Yeah, 100%, because I can't say, of course, I'm guilty of it as well. And I think, like you said, like it's your friends that pick up the pieces when it's, but also even if your partner is amazing, and you cannot expect, for that person to be the only person that's gonna support you in every way. I mean, to grow, you cannot rely on, you cannot think about growth in terms of one single person. And even if it's, I can cry. Sometimes you make me cry, like you made me cry last week.
Yes.
So I had to go somewhere else.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but like it is a I think you have to have a room and space to grow. Yeah. And to grow, you need a community. I think that's the main point. It's not about, and even when I say community, I don't mean 5 couples and we are all, kind of a community, but then we are all
still very coupley,
you know. Community is what, you usually would come naturally, if you stay in one place for a very long time. But for migrants, that kind of like the idea of community changes and you need to work so much on it. So I think the most important thing that I don't know is that friendship is and partnership or love is work.
Yes. And work in progress. Yeah.
And it's always work in progress.
Yeah. And we're all we're self-reflexive, creatures, aren't we? Because we no longer, have prescribed ideas of what is and isn't. Right. Yeah. And now we're able to reimagine different versions of ourselves. Like, I can definitely say that I was not the same person even 3 years ago. You can attest to this. Was I the same person?
No.
Am I the same person?
No,
exactly. Sure. In 3 years, I've changed so much. And if that change is not, is not absorbed and accepted by not just my partners, but also my friends and my family, then that becomes a problem. Because then I'm not able to be my truest and most authentic self with the people that I trust the most. And that's a problem, because I need to have, like, we all perform. We all have our performance face or our game face when we're out there in the world. But we need to have that backstage relaxed. This is who I am with my inner circle. And if you don't have that, then you're kind of in a bit of a sticky situation.
So it's very difficult, because a lot of people are, and I've been in that situation, because you're kind of like trying to, it's also about reciprocity, right? Like what you're saying is like you need to find the people that will equally reciprocate, because you cannot hold this standard for yourself with everyone and then expect them to allow you to, you kind of have to accept that you will lose people. You cannot have that authenticity, kind of, which is not I really hate the word authenticity.
Yeah, because it means like there's a different version. Yeah, it's so true, because there's like, it alludes to the fact that you're not real. There's two sides to you, but then, we're really multifaceted.
Yeah, like there is an authentic version and there's another version that is not authentic.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think that's, I don't know, I just think of that as really ridiculous.
It's very reductive, yeah.
And very reductive, because I'm a different person with every single
person you meet, yeah.
Exactly. So where, you cannot really say,
you can't locate,
the authentic me,
Ana, that's
which
right.
is, that's such an egoistic point of view, that I am this character, And I feel that, and that what kind of like, when you have friends and stuff or partners and you change and you change a lot or something changes, you should be allowed to change. You shouldn't be like, no, like you can't change. I accepted you in on the 25th of March as that person, and then 3 days later, that's the standard. And then 10 days later, you've decided to be this other person.
I can't accept. That wasn't part of our agreement.
That wasn't part of our agreement. I mean, and they should be free
to disagree and go their separate ways. Absolutely,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I think that's the fear, right?
It's the fear and the sitting with the discomfort that this may mean that you might lose this person that you love. But it's also, the only way to look at it. Because what are you going to do? Shackle this person down to your home and say you can't leave? That's terrifying. Please don't do that. That's disturbing. That's not okay.
Exactly. What do you think? Okay, should we talk about our friendship? What do you think about our friendship? What are the tenets on which our friendship is built? Or are there any?
Well, I mean, we have to caveat this because we got very lucky. A lot of people tell us this, and I think only up until recently we've actually realized how lucky we are that we have this sort of this synergy that just comes very naturally to us, that isn't forced. It's very authentic, and that's probably why we're able to do all of this, because we're at the same wavelength. And we also respect that there are moments where like you said, I made you cry. So our relationship is also a work in progress.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have arguments, and but we work through it.
Yeah, exactly. We? I think that's the point. I think the kind of unsaid tenet of our relationship is that we've always, from the beginning, kind of had this idea you should be allowed to change and grow.
Yes.
And you should be allowed to express yourself or whatever you feel and there's no judgment. But I'm also allowed to express my feelings of what you do.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly. If I disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that we've kind of like created this, if that's the tenet of the relationship, we've kind of that's why I think if you want to get angry with me or you don't like something, I cannot say that that's not okay.
Yeah, because, just and this is true for, it's true in terms of our relationship and in it being completely reciprocal in the sense that, if I'm allowed to change, then you're allowed to tell me that I'm not feeling very comfortable with this change.
Exactly.
And this is hurting me. And our, disagreements and me making you cry is all, part of that. But we work it out. We talk about it,
exactly.
And that's the work in progress bit, the communication. Don't you think that is actually a major part of our relationship, of our friendship? That we communicate our moments of, I'm not feeling great. I'm really not happy about this. And it just actually quite naturally ekes out of us.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've kind of like set the standard that that's okay to do. And that's, that's how this should work. Because if in any way this is becoming, our relationship is becoming too like, constricting, then it shouldn't. There's something wrong, and that's like why we're constantly working at it. And also I think that we've talked about this. So when I met Natasha, we both have sisters.
Yes.
So when I met Natasha's sister, it's so weird because I don't even remember Natasha introducing me to Geeta. I think you kind of like, we just like...
We didn't even do that.
We didn't do that.
We didn't do the whole, hi, this is Geeta.
No, I was like, oh, I know you since forever. I don't...
Yeah, that's so true.
We get along so well.
Yeah.
And same when Maria came to Sydney.
Yeah, that's so true.
It was the same. And now we all have this...
Sunday book club.
Sunday book
coffee
club.
drink session.
And when we first logged in, it was you, me, Gita, and Maria, and we didn't even introduce them.
Yeah, because they hadn't met. Yeah.
They hadn't met, but they was like, no, just come. We know each other.
Yeah.
There's no need for like
there's
this
no
is
need.
formality.
Actually, I didn't think about that. That is so true.
Well, I think when we spoke just before we came here, that we kind of figured out that we always think of our relationship as the first question that I ask myself, kind of, and then you said that you do as well, is like, because you find one relationship that is so precious, and for me, it's with my sister. You know, I like absolutely love my sister, and I would do anything. I just literally go and die.
Yeah, you take a bullet. Yeah, I know. I say that all the time.
For sure. Not even like when we were
even hesitate.
When we went in Nepal, we were trekking.
Yeah.
We were trekking, and then there was this like, I don't know, like a cliff, and we had to like walk, and she was walking first. And then you had no space. It was just like maybe 10 centimeters like of a cliff. And then I like in my head, I'm like, if she falls now, I'm just jumping straight away. I don't even think, I'm like, I can't survive because it was my idea to do this. I'm like, and I'm just like trying to like stay calm, and I'm getting ready to jump jump as well. Just if she dies, I'm jumping. Like that's it. My life's over.
Yeah, it's so
but
beautiful.
I kind of
it's terrifying, but it's beautiful.
It's
Please
terrifying,
don't do that.
yeah. But it was like, oh my God, like I can't deal with this. But for example, when I think of other relationship, doesn't matter, romantic relationship, my partner, my like you, my other friends, I try to think of, would I say this to my sister? Would I do this to my sister? I mean, like, no, like would I like, if I have to tell them of something that is bothering me, would I be, because I know that I care for her. Do I care enough about this person?
Yeah.
Or should I care enough about this person to do the things that I would like? For example, if I want to give you like let's say if I want to critique something that you do, and I think that this is not good for you, or
you would just be honest, brutally honest.
I have to be brutally honest, and I have to know. With my sister, I don't have that fear that, I mean, she's stuck with me. I mean, when you were born, we were born in the same family, so you have no choice. You can't run away, you know?
Yeah,
so that fear is removed, that, you know, but with you, for example, or with other friends, I would think, okay, I think that I need to say this, and I know this person is not gonna like it, but I have to, because I know that I have to say it, because I feel through my understanding, or maybe I'm wrong, but I have to say it because I care. So even with my partner, I have to think, do I care about this person, so I want to see this person grow and flourish. Would I say this?
Yeah, and you don't want to be, you know, you don't want your relationship to be defined, you know, by walking on eggshells, you know, because, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember when I was, you know, choosing to get married, my sister did not mince her words. No one in my family minced their words. They were not happy, you know, and I heard all the different variations of that unhappiness coming out. And I think, you know, because we cared so deeply for each other, and she cared so deeply for my well-being, she had to say what she said, and I had to accept that that's how she felt. And I think that is the truest freedom and the most, you know, beautiful sort of relationship you can possibly try and achieve, because it's not just about saying nice things to each other and being happy and all of that.
Sure. Yeah, because I want to see, like, even like my friends and my partner and anyone that I'm involved with, I want to see them grow. So I want to, you know, like or grow, or just like whatever I can do to kind of like extend my help or whatever it is. And I think that in that way, you kind of like make sure that it's not only about, you know, you kind of like undercut all these other things about what friendship is. Like how it should, you know, it's less important than your partnership, competition, especially like when you think about female friendship, a lot of like female friendships are, I mean, like just let's watch, like you watch on TV, on like TV shows, you have like females are friends until they find a guy, or they're friends just in this like cohort
Until
and
they move out of it. Yeah.
Like looking for guys.
Yes, that's so true.
And that's like, what?
Yeah, what is that?
What is that? Like,
I know.
I really don't understand that.
Yeah, that's
Because
so true. Yeah.
because why would you, like, you want your friend to not succeed just in finding a guy. You want them to succeed in their, like, fulfilling their dreams, finding a better job, like in their education, in their studies.
And you want to be a part of those milestones, right? Like
100%.
I want to be a part of your milestones when, I don't know, you go and do your PhD or become a coder or whatever. I want to be part of that. I don't want to be, excluded from those milestones because I'm invested in your well-being.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm invested in you succeeding.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because you've learned so long that that's not, like, I mean, I've been in relationships where I haven't been that person.
Yes, absolutely.
That cared enough, or in friendships, I have definitely been that person that have not cared enough or cared in a different way, like trying to impose
yes, absolutely
ideas. While like, I think that kind of finding that balance,
and learning through your own, like you said, your own mistakes and your own failings of because we're not always amazing friends to our friends or amazing partners to our partners.
Yeah, and that's fine, right?
And that's fine because it's impossible to live up to this standard of perfection. It's just not. It's not. It shouldn't be the standard.
Yeah, exactly. And usually do you think that it's often more that, like, that the mistakes define us rather than what we do?
Yes.
So often we're defined by our mistakes rather than all the other stuff
all
that
the
you've
good
done.
Stuff. Oh yeah, because it's so much easier to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, like how you remember that I made you cry, as opposed to all the amazing things I've done for you. See?
Yeah, that's so true. But Natasha's not like making me cry.
No,
I make her cry. Like,
we make each other cry.
We make each other cry. It's not.
It's not like we're not in an abusive relationship, guys. Don't worry. Yeah.
Happy tears.
Yeah. Yes, happy tears. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very. I think it's like a important thing to say, that it's important to. I think you said that while we were at home, you said something like it shouldn't be a hierarchy, it should be a round table of your ships, your partnership, your family, or I don't know, it doesn't need to be a family, but
whoever you
consider your family,
yeah,
your friends, you should have it at the round table. You should have a community.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be, I mean, it shouldn't be hierarchical, as in top, bottom, top. It should be, a sort of around, like you said, a round table where everyone has equal power, a power, play in the stake or in the well-being of that relationship. And I think a lot of the times that is the problem, right? It's the struggle for power in any relationship, even in a friendship or a marriage or a partnership. It's that tug of war of who's wielding more power, or if you're wielding more power, I'm trying to take back power. And it's finding that equilibrium,
I think that's good. That's that's crucial. I think we didn't even talk about power, but power is actually
super important.
Super important.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Like, do you think that successful relationship have this power fluidity where it's not like equal, but it's fluid? It can one from one day to the next, you are able to change your relation, your I mean, if you have power in this today, maybe it's gonna change. If you have I don't know, financial power at one point, and you have that kind of, maybe that's gonna change. Maybe you're gonna be in a different position. That the power relationship are not always equal and stagnant. You do this, you have the power in saying
in this moment,
in choosing,
in time,
or in choosing this, in choosing where we're gonna live. You have the power in choosing how we're gonna organize our house. Let's say you have the power in choosing where we're gonna go or whatever. And then the other person has the power to choose what we actually do with our lives, or where we're gonna move, or where we're gonna travel. I don't know, like.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all, it really is how, what you communicate to this person or to your friends or whoever that you're doing this with, of what those boundaries are, or what those limitations are. Like, okay, we decide this in this moment in time, and then we're going to change that. Now I'm going to do this, and I've decided that this is the best way forward for our relationship. And that is crucial, which more often than not sometimes doesn't happen. That sitting down and actually talking about, okay, this is where we're at, and this is how, now I have more power, but there'll come a time where I may not have the same amount of power, especially, for example, financial power. I may be in a position where I'm in between jobs, and you may need to, look after us for for a period of time.
Yeah, I might be doing something creative that
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of financial power.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's not necessarily true, and let's hope that would change.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true. And also, like, we always see power as, like, even with roles, right? Connected to roles, you see that certain roles, like being financially responsible, is the power role.
Yes.
Like that's what it is. But sometimes there's, like, you have soft power.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You have so many different ways, and I think it's important to be able to change roles, to try to experience all roles in to shift and change, and not always stay in the same. Like, I mean, even in our relationship, sometimes you have, like, I don't know, you know how to do something better than I do, and yeah, maybe,
and vice versa. Yeah,
exactly. And it's for that day.
Yeah.
And I think we do this very naturally, like, there's no,
it doesn't
what I mean?
It's kind of understood.
It's kind of understood. Or you have this, this is your thing, and that changes next week. It's me, so we don't really have a set of roles that we are constantly in.
They're not fixed.
They're not fixed.
And we're constantly renegotiating them every day. And I think that's crucial, right? Because in any given relationship, be it romantic or non-romantic, I mean, power dynamics, it's crucial to at least be aware of that, to be aware that there are moments in time where you may actually have a lot more, power than this other person. And I think that awareness sometimes is it doesn't happen. It's obscured because you're in that position of power, and that's when and that's when a lot of problems start appearing, where this other person feels powerless, and hence a lot of issues.
Yeah, because you're never really aware.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're not really aware, and this
when
is
when we have more power.
Exactly. And that's more true in, like, in a romantic relationship, because society says who has power, has been organized, and even in that way you have the patriarchy.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
You can't
not talk about the patriarchy.
Fuck the patriarchy. Just
Yes. Yeah.
So I think the moral of this story is that you should not sail on a single ship your whole life.
Yeah, that's right.
Or always choose the same ship.
Yeah. Cultivate all your other ships and see where that takes you.
Yeah, and especially, like, it's interesting to hear from you people. What do you think, especially considering that love is a construct, and it's been embedded in our psyche as this love is equated to desire because of pop culture, because of media. What we need to desire and what we need to feel has always been prescribed by
and
dictated. So it's a good practice to kind of step away and think, what do I think about ships by which I organize my life?
So we would love to hear your thoughts about this. And Ivana and I could talk about this. We could probably talk about this for, 5 to 10 hours. But, but really, we would love to hear your ideas and your thoughts about, the relationships and the ships in which you organize your life around. And, that probably or may include, even your professional relationships and acquaintances. And it's not just necessarily your romantic relationships or your friendships. So yeah, absolutely. Please reach out to us and let us know what you think. In our next episode, we're going to be looking at data and the claustrophobia that comes from living in your personal algorithm can be comfortable yet deadly. Obsessions about, AI takeovers are well enmeshed in the modern psyche, and questions about AI self-awareness seem more as questions of when rather than if. But what if the order is reversed? And have we missed the real question? Are machines becoming self-aware, or are humans becoming commodities? So stay tuned. Bye.
Bye.